Something has changed. Either I have changed personally or they have changed, but something has definitely changed. More than likely, probably a combination of both. I have never been a very patient person. I don't like to wait. When I'm driving, I am trying to get where I'm going as fast as possible because I feel like driving is a waste of time. But as I've gotten older, I have noticed that my patience has become increasingly thin when it comes to incompetence. My patience has become thin when it comes to a substandard product. If you watched the video on the second channel earlier this morning, you heard me unleash a 14, maybe even 15-minute rant on the magnitude of the incompetence that has infected my Saints and Pelicans. Dennis Allen, Willie Green, they are competing to see who is the worst coach in sports. Right now, Denise has a slight advantage over the Weasel, but that pesky Weasel, he is doing his best to prove that he can be just as dumb, if not dumber, than Dennis Allen. For the first 15, maybe even first 20 years of my life, the Saints were historically bad. But no matter how bad the Saints were, I could always depend on the rest of the NFL to be great. 18 weeks every year, I looked forward to NFL Sunday, or back then, 17 weeks every year. I remember when NFL Red Zone launched in 2009, it was like Christmas came early. I could sit there on Sunday afternoons and watch 7 hours of commercial-free football without moving. The only time I got up was to get another drink. For 36, 37 years of my life, I was passionate about the NFL. I loved it. But over the last couple of years, my interest in the NFL, it has slowly declined. Now, part of the reason for that decline is what happened to my Saints back in 2019, when NFL officials robbed Sean Payton and Drew Brees of another Super Bowl ring by failing to throw a flag on the most obvious pass interference call in the history of the league. I didn't know it at the time, and I was at that game. I didn't know it at the time, but that was the beginning of the end for me. That was the beginning of me losing interest in the NFL. Maybe I am not as interested because I no longer consume the booze. I used to drink all day on Sundays while watching the NFL. Maybe the booze played a role in the excitement of the games. I used to be heavy into gambling. After working at a sports book for 3 years, gambling, it just turned into a job and it's just not as appealing to me anymore. Maybe it's just me getting older. Maybe my priorities have changed. I mean, I still watch the NFL on Sundays, but it's just not the same. I still bet on the games, but I don't get the same adrenaline rush. There's a lot of Sundays where NFL Red Zone, it is simply on in the background. If the Pelicans are playing on Sunday afternoons, I'm watching them over the NFL. The combination of all these things, it has contributed to my declining interest in the league, but I think the biggest factor in my declining interest, it is the same thing that I have been complaining about for the past 3 years. I think the biggest reason that I'm losing interest in the NFL, the quality of play has drastically declined. More specifically, the quality of play at the most important position, quarterback. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel in the description below. I unleashed a tirade on the second channel this morning. If you like seeing Uncle KC angry, if you like seeing me bitter, go check out the video from this morning about Dennis Allen and Willie Green. All right, let's get to these ratings, then I'll explain why I believe quality of play is causing these declines in the NFL. The media, they are claiming that the presidential election is responsible, which maybe that's true. Maybe that's playing a part. I'm sure the election is having some impact. The reason I'm having a hard time believing that the election is primarily responsible is because NFL ratings were great in September. Seems like people witnessed a full month of atrocious football and they turned the NFL off. But the early window on Fox last Sunday, 15 million viewers, down 24% compared to last year. Early window on CBS, 17.2 million, up 28% from last year. So the early windows, they were basically a wash. Late window on CBS, which featured the exciting finish between the Bears and the Guardians. Nearly 25 million viewers, down 4%. Overall, ratings for Week 8, they were down 4% when compared to last year. I believe NFL ratings declined every week, if I'm not mistaken, during the month of October. But what I thought was most interesting was the ratings last week for Monday Night Football. The NFL gifted ESPN a nicely polished turd this week with Giants Steelers. The Giants are a Saints-level disaster, and the Steelers, they are one of the most painfully boring teams in the league to watch. I like Mike Tomlin, one hell of a coach, but the Steelers, they're just hard to watch. ESPN decided that this matchup was so high profile, it deserved to be broadcast across 3 networks. The game was broadcast on ESPN, ESPN Dos, and ABC. It drew 13.3 million viewers across all 3 networks, but that's not the concerning part. What should be concerning for the NFL, they almost got beat by Major League Baseball. The World Series drew 13.2 million Monday night. Last year, Monday Night Football, it doubled the ratings of the World Series. This year, they're damn near tied. Ratings for Major League Baseball, they're going up, while ratings in the NFL are going down. I don't hear Rob Manfred complaining about the presidential election. I don't hear Rob Manfred making excuses. The reality is, the NFL's got a serious problem. I've noticed a trend the past 2 or 3 years. First 2 months of the season, the quality of play sucks. It's abysmal. 5 or 10 years ago, the first 2 weeks of the regular season, it was basically an extension of the preseason. During the first 2 weeks, offenses were still developing their timing. Quarterbacks used the first 2 weeks of the regular season to develop chemistry with their receivers. Now, 2 weeks has turned into 2 months. I didn't watch the late games last Sunday. I was watching the NBA, but for the first time this season, the early slate of games on NFL Red Zone, they were actually good. Why in the hell does it take 2 months for the NFL to present a quality product? Maybe it has to do with the fact that teams no longer practice. There used to be 40, maybe 50 padded practices every year. Today, they've got 17. NFL teams have the same number of padded practices as they do games. And it's not the league's fault. It's the players' fault. When negotiating the last CBA, the players, they demanded less practice. Oh, it's far too risky. We don't want to get hurt during practice. Huh. Yeah, well, now you're getting hurt during games. A while back, I was watching a documentary on the WWE. I think it was on Triple H, or maybe it was on The Undertaker. It's the ones that A&E does on Sunday nights. They were talking about how difficult it is to prepare for one match at WrestleMania every year. They were talking about how no amount of training can get you into ring shape when you're not wrestling throughout the year. No amount of training can get your body accustomed to taking the beating that you take in the ring. The only way you can get your body accustomed to taking bumps is to take the bumps in actual wrestling matches day after day, week after week, month after month. Now, once your body is used to the trauma, it doesn't have the same impact. You're not as likely to get injured. You're used to taking the bumps, the hits. Now, I'm not a doctor, but maybe it is the same thing in the NFL. Maybe we are seeing an increase in injuries because players are no longer practicing. For 3 years now, I have complained about the decline of quarterbacks in the NFL. Yesterday, ESPN finally decided to recognize the problem that we have been complaining about. They tweeted out a list of bums that failed to make it in the NFL over the last couple of years. Anthony Richardson, benched. If I were the Colts, I would release him immediately. This doofus pulled himself out of a game last Sunday because I need some rest. Bryce Young, career likely over. Trey Lance, bum. Justin Fields, career backup. Will Levis, bum. Zach Wilson, bum. Mac Jones, bum. Kenny Pickett, bum. But KC, there's also young quarterbacks who are becoming huge stars. What about Bo Nix? What about Brock Purdy? What about Joe Burrow? Yeah, what about them? Are any of those quarterbacks must-see TV? Are you canceling plans on Sunday afternoon to watch Bo Nix incomplete passes? Let me tell you how bad the quarterback play is in the NFL right now. Guess who is leading the league in passing yards? Just take a wild guess. Well, Casey, is it Patrick Mahomes? Did you see that touchdown pass he threw to the future Travis Swiffer? It's not Patty, and it's not his brother Jackie Mahomes either. Leading passer in the NFL this year, Geno Smith. Sam Darnold. He is a potential candidate for most valuable player. Sam Darnold. When the Legends were still playing in 2018, 2019, Sam Darnold, he was a complete afterthought. There are so few franchise-level quarterbacks in this league. Gardner Minshew was the starting quarterback for the Raiders to start the season. Gardner Minshew, the guy who looks like he just landed the starring role as the patient in Night Nurses from Jersey. There are some promising quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Jaden Daniels, he's special. CJ Stroud, he's pretty good. But we are 8 weeks into the season, and the vast majority of quarterbacks in this league, they are not on pace to throw for 4,000 yards. What's even more concerning for the NFL, and this is a major concern for every league along with sports media, kids. Kids are not watching sports. ESPN president Jimmy Pitaro, he recently said that the number one concern for sports leagues and sports media, kids are not consuming their product. Kids watch highlights, they know what's going on, but they're not watching actual games. Why? When I was a kid, all we did was watch sports. If we weren't outside playing sports, we were watching them. So why aren't Gen Z kids watching sports? I don't know, but if I am finding myself getting bored with the NFL at 39 years old, why would a 19-year-old kid with a short attention span waste 3 hours watching? Give me your thoughts on this. NFL ratings declined through the month of October. Monday Night Football almost beaten by the World Series. Just think about that. Baseball beating the NFL. That should be unfathomable. What the hell is going on with this league? Why is the NFL struggling? Is it the complete lack of development at the quarterback position? You tell me. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. Appreciate your support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com. See you guys tomorrow.